So we're finished. I did 3D print my own stand though for it. So the Grumman A6 Intruder was made between 1962 to 1992, or maybe that was its operation years. No, that was manufacturing according to Wikipedia. 693 of them were made. The length was 16.7 meters. The wingspan was 16.2. It could go 1,040 kilometers an hour, and its intention is an all-weather carrier-based attack aircraft. It was used by the Navy and the Marines, and it replaced the A-1 Skyraider. In Vietnam, 84 of them were lost, apparently. In the Gulf War, only 3 were lost. So they apparently got better or just weren't engaging the same types of enemies or something. I'm not sure. But over 4,700 combat sorties occurred in the Gulf War, and so a lot of those sorties were dropping bombs, it seems, like this photo. And it could hold 18,000 pounds or 8,200 kilograms of ordnance. So it had a side-by-side two-person cockpit. This one only has a figure I took from a different Freedom model kit. It didn't come with a figure. And here's a picture of the real deal of this exact livery, I think. It's just a different registration number. This is 82. This one is 26. But I think it's that based on the tail fin. Maybe it's not the same because there's more yellow going across to the front here. Alright, well anyways, it's close. It's close. So look at the box. I want to show that I didn't paint this like it should have been. The decal here, it doesn't have a hole for this antenna, and I glued the antenna in, then painted it. So if you want to have that black decal there, you're going to have to paint that antenna separately and put it in after you put that decal on. I also was too lazy to paint this peach nose. I know that paint's going to seep under the thing. And there's absolutely no panel lines on that thing to use as like a guide or reference. So it's kind of weak. Also, well, let's see. There's not much else to talk about there. But in the instructions, I can show you. When I was sliding these 2 bombs into that one bomb that goes on a pylon, is both extremely tight because there's a molding gate on both pieces. So you probably want to test fit this, and you might have to realize you're going to have to probably sand some parts down in order for that to fit easily. I had to really force it in with a lot of pressure. So that was an issue. This canopy, there's only this tiny little peg holding it in place. So I had to put some school glue around it to keep it in place. The cockpit seat is very narrow, so it doesn't fit very cartoony characters, but I did manage to fit like a Freedom head in there. Everything else, though, was pretty straightforward. No, nothing major. It does give you 2 sets of decals, one for the Navy and one for the Marines, so that's a nice option. If you screw up, you know, you can just work the other set of decals, hopefully. Alright, so that's that. I drilled a 3mm peg hole into the base, and frankly it's so tight I'm afraid to remove it now, so I guess I'll remove this part, but this is in there. You can see the seam lines. Yeah, I didn't putty it as much as I should have, but it's good enough for me. Also, the decals are quite thin from this brand, so after I put some Marks decal softener, I actually ruined this a little bit. This side's fine, but this one's compressed because it kind of buckled a little bit. I hand painted, you know, the yellow tips of this. Little decals here are nice. Let's see. Yeah, otherwise I would say most of the other decals are all the decals are straightforward, no crazy bends or anything like that. That's the most drastic bend you have to deal with. For the rear vertical, you have to lay it down and then use some decal softener to wrap it around the edges. So once you finish one side, then you can do the other and wrap it over. So that's what I did there. I actually took a little extra yellow and crossed over this gap as well. There was pleasantly extra yellow decal, so that's good. Interesting design, you know, how they have the tail, these rear stabilizers, so pointy. You know, they should be sticking out that way, but it's an egg, so and yeah, I kind of wish the wingspan wasn't so wide, but it is what it is. It does have to fit this landing gear and those things, so yeah, I guess maybe this is a case where the wingspan couldn't have been shrunken too much. There's sadly no detail in the engine. It's just a flat panel, so that's unfortunate. They don't give you an extra piece that makes it look like an engine back there. But they're cheap model kits, these eggplanes. So I used some masking fluid, and it just doesn't work well. Unfortunately, Hasegawa cockpits have almost no definition change between what's supposed to be painted and not, especially here. So it's hard to do. I've come to realize it's probably just best to hand paint these things with a paintbrush instead of using masking tape, or definitely liquid masking is the worst. Masking tape's not so bad, but I think it's just faster if you brush it by hand. But I'm learning. I haven't built airplane kits in a long time. Like prior to this year, it's been like probably 3 decades since I made a model airplane kit. That is so. All right. Well, I'm sorry, this thing was still spinning. I kind of lost track there. So a few other models to compare it to. We have the Harrier AV8 from the Eggplane series, and I like how the wings are much shorter on that. It just looks proportionally more even, its deformation. Freedom Compact series, we have the F4 Phantom, and the Freedom guys, they have all these panel details, right? It just looks good, and it's proportionally all evenly distorted. I unfortunately had problems with the decals. But a lot of parts, you know, and a lot of decals. I didn't even put all of them on there. And they have these pilots, which are nice too. These did not come with pilots. So those are nice. Alright, so they all can hang out with each other, of course, being cartooned airplanes. You can look up videos of those if you wish. And let's get this thing spinning one last time. Oh, I seem to have turned it off. So pleasantly, eggplane model kits are pretty inexpensive, so even if you mess up, you can just buy another model kit. But I haven't done so yet. Alright, well thank you for watching. I'm going to build more of these things as time permits. We'll see you then.